On this week's episode of Undercover Boss, we look at a business in turmoil. Profits are down and employees are fraught. The recent toll of Brexit is crushing margins. The shareholders are unhappy and the board demands action. Sahini Thakur, the fearless founder and CEO of Grumpy Mule, Europe's premier cafe chain with over 700 locations, has decided to go undercover to investigate what's going on.
So Sahini, how was your first day undercover?
I don't even know where to start, I honestly don't. Oh my god, it was awful. I got into work Monday morning at 9 a.m. and as I was going through the door, I realised that my colleagues were walking in backwards. I didn't understand what was going on, I was completely confused. And then the next day, I was walking past and I overheard this meeting going on about how to increase profits. All of the ideas were ridiculous. They were considering no maternity leave, fish-flavoured coffee, and even child labour. It was ridiculous. Who considers child labour? Thank God one of the team members disagreed and restored my faith in the company. However, this faith was short-lived and it was quickly shut down by everyone else, and in the end, even he seemed convinced that they were all correct. Finally, we got to lunchtime. And we were getting along really well, but once we reached the canteen, the scientists and the executives separated. I didn't understand why we just didn't sit together, but apparently that was just the status quo. I really wanted to sit with the scientists to try and break this trend, but I was pressured to leave him.
It's the end of the day, and Sahini has no idea what to do. She leverages the power of technology to find an answer to her problems. But she gets more than she bargained for.
And there I was, working in my lab, when suddenly Sahini, the CEO of Grumpy Mules, appeared. Conformity, that was the plague in her workplace, and that's what I needed to teach her about. I told her about my line judgment task experiment, in which a participant was placed in a room full of actors, whose job it was to purposely choose the incorrect answer. I discovered that almost every time participants chose their obviously incorrect answer due to the social pressure exerted on them. I also discovered that conformity could be categorized in 3 different ways. The first one being distortion of perception. This is when people conform without even realizing they are conforming. So, can you tell us, why didn't you go sit with your colleagues?
I didn't even think about it. I don't know, I never sit with the executives.
The second being distortion of judgment. This is when you believe something is not quite correct. However, you're influenced by the majority opinion, as you think it's probably the correct answer. So Ella, why did you walk in backwards?
I don't know, I've done it for years. I mean, initially I did think it was strange, but I'm sure there is a reason why we do it.
Finally, distortion of action. This is when you know something isn't correct. However, you don't stand up for what you believe in, as you don't want to appear different. So Saif, why did you back down from your original idea in the group meeting?
I mean, I knew everyone's ideas were a bit dodgy. I didn't really entirely agree with them. But I guess sometimes it's quite difficult when everyone else in the group is saying something else and no one's agreeing with you. So I guess I'm just a cog in the machine, really. And then I told Sahini my 4 steps to combat conformity in the workplace. Step 1. Give employees the opportunity to be themselves. Although this might not feel comfortable, you need to push your employees to do this and accept it. Step 2. Encourage employees to bring out their significant strength. We all have a drive to do what we do best and be recognized accordingly. A leader's task is to encourage employees to sculpt their jobs to bring out their strengths. Step 3. Question the status quo and encourage employees to do the same. Although standardizing procedures might seem like a good idea for the business, you need to have employees challenge the assumption of the way we've always done it. And finally, step 4. Create challenging experiences. It's easy for workers to get bored and fall behind on routine when their jobs involve little variety or challenges. Try and incorporate work that challenges their routine and breaks it.
A few months later, we go back to observe firsthand the changes Sahini made. Employee productivity is up and are now much more inclusive, with the scientists and executives sitting together and being treated as equals. They aren't afraid to challenge social norms. Employees can express opinions freely and are always heard. We can confidently say Grumpy Mule employees are no longer bound by conformity.